Yeah, we back with another reflection on the daily Vedankadonk. And the last two episodes, with this being the third, is basically a three-part 1, 2, 3, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Extremely concise, punch you in the mouth approaches to this philosophy. I don't know where I was going with that. Last one. Aphorism. Love a good aphorism, but you don't need that many of them. I recognize that now. So the first two episodes, the first one was on the four Mahavakyas, great phrases. So 2 episodes ago. Yesterday's episode was the voice note from Swami, basically the Swami Parthasarathi 41-second voice note of the entirety of the philosophy. The problem and the solution in a WhatsApp voice note that he sent while he's in a hospital bed with a broken hip at 96 years old. So if you haven't checked out that episode, go check it out. Get to hear it from him, his voice, the totality of not just this philosophy, but also Vedanta treatise, and every episode of Yoga for Your Intellect, the other podcast on Vedanta that I host with one of my other teachers, Joseph. We both study under Swami Parthasarathi. So you get to hear it from the founder of the ashram, the top advocate of Vedanta globally right now, living at least. And it's just so crazy that I could even just ask him for a voice note and he sends it over. But today, I also mentioned that I was going to touch on, there's 2 notes that I write down and then I look at every 5 days in an alternating order, and they just come up in my inbox on email, and then I snooze it for 5 days and look at it over and over and over again. One is the voice note that we listened to yesterday, and the other is this sentence, this quote from Swami. Swami just means teacher in Sanskrit, by the way. And if you've listened to the podcast, you know that Vedanta compares this waking state often to the dream, where the dream is a perfect example where we perceive an illusion of separateness. But everyone in the dream experience is you. It's a projection of your mind. It's a world that not only have you created, but we create every night, multiple times a night, whether you remember them or not, whether you know it or not, whether you fully grasp it or not. We are all world creators. Whenever we go to sleep, project out an entire world of an environment, walls and light, other people, drama, not knowing what's going to happen, emotional roller coasters that we are creating. And yet we wake up and 30 seconds later we say, oh, that was a dream, that wasn't real. But this is real because, well, I perceive it. And I say this all the time because it's so simple, yet so hard for us to grasp that we go from a dream experience where we wake up and realize, oh, my perceptions had nothing to do with reality, with what was really going on. And then we wake up and, well, this has to be real because I perceive it. And this philosophy explicitly says your perceptions have nothing to do with reality. Nothing to do with reality. The human eye sees a fraction of the frequencies of colors in the universe. We hear a fraction of the sonic frequencies that occur in our universe. We are looking at things not only as if we're looking at them through a tiny little coffee straw, saying, oh, I'm seeing the whole thing. Yeah, I totally know what's going on, what is really happening, because I'm looking through this tiny little lens of a coffee straw. Not only are we saying that we can see it all, perceive it all, when in truth, we just know this in our own scientific lens, not even philosophically, that we are seeing such a tiny band of what's really happening. But this philosophy says even more, even those perceptions have nothing to do with what is really going on. Hence the weight from this quote from our teacher in a lecture that he gave when he was probably 84, 85 years old. He said, if you can maintain the experience of the dream, you don't need any books. You don't need any of the philosophy. You can understand the absurdness of this experience here. If you can maintain the experience of the dream, you don't need any books. You don't need any of the philosophy. You can understand the absurdness of this experience here. You don't need any Upanishads. You don't need any Vedic scriptures, any Sanskrit exotic words, just our own experience every day of having this illusion, this illusory experience that we swear is real because of our perceptions, our sense perceptions, seeing, hearing, touching something in a dream. We swear it's real because of those sense perceptions. And 30 seconds later, we wake up. Know that it was not real. Had nothing to do with where you were lying in the bed, safe and sound. But we forget how wrong our sense perceptions, how not just misleading, but how irrelevant our sense perceptions were to the reality of where we were in that bed. And as I said before, this philosophy saying this waking state is just an elevated version of that. Whether we can hear this or not, because we're so convinced that this is real, that these other people exist, they're separate from me, I'm separate from this experience. There's an inner and then there's an outer and they're separate. Whether we can even hear a message like this is actually independent of something far simpler, which is just reflecting on that experience of the dream. And if you can adequately reflect on that experience, we can understand the absurdness of this experience here without any books, without any podcast episodes, without any scripture, without any philosophy. Just tapping into our own experience, one that we might have every 24 hours. And that is today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic. We'll see you next time.